This is question 32 and 33. This is from SAT number 14. And we have a paired question here, so let's jump in and let's try to solve this. So 32 says, in passage 1, Douglas implies that legislators' consideration of the bill he has proposed has been clouded by above. And just to give a little bit of general context of what's happening is Douglas is the one who's proposing what's called the Kansas-Nebraska bill. And that's sort of what he's defending throughout the whole passage one. So this question is saying that he's implying that legislators' consideration of the bills proposed has been clouded by something. So because this is a paired question, what we want to do is we want to start with the answer choice from 33. We want to go through them, and we're looking for any answer choice that would basically answer this question, right? About what he thinks about legislators' consideration of this bill. One thing to point out is this implies here, right? I don't make too big a deal of implies or infers because they don't change the structure of the questions too much. What it does indicate to us is that probably we may have to look one level deeper, right? We may have to make one small logical connection. We're not going to invent anything or create any stories, but we should expect that it may not be as obvious as in other questions. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through the answer choices for 33, and we're going to look for anything that tells us about the legislator's consideration of this bill and something that would be clouding their judgment. So let's see if we can do that here. So lines 25 through 29 say, it is not the question involved the simple one, whether the people of the territory shall be allowed to do as they please upon the question of slavery, subject only to the limitations of the Constitution. And here we see that he's kind of asking this question directly to people who, directly to the legislators. So this could be it. It doesn't really tell us clearly something that their consideration of his bill, but it does. We could make an inference from this, right? Based on the fact that he's asking this question, this could imply some sort of belief that he has. So this could be an answer choice to keep, although it doesn't strike us as too strong. Let's see if there's a stronger one on the surface. So next with 2932, which says, that is all the bill provides, and it does so in clear, explicit, and unequivocal terms. I do not wish to deal in any equivocal language. And all this text really does is tell us about the bill, and it tells us about Douglas's view of the bill. It's clear, it's explicit, it's unequivocal. And this doesn't really tell us too much about. This doesn't tell us too much about legislators' consideration of the bill, and it doesn't really tell us like something that would be clouding their judgment. So for that reason, I don't think it's a very strong answer choice. We could probably eliminate it. So we keep A, we can eliminate B. C says, with 32, 33, C says, if the principle is right, let it be avowed and maintained. And this would just be the principle of what the bill provides, right? Which is basically allowing states or allowing territories to decide on the question themselves. If it's right, let it be avowed and maintained. Again, this is just sort of characterizing the bill, characterizing the logic behind the bill, without really telling us too clearly something about something that the legislators consider, right? Something they think about it. So you could eliminate. D says 33 through 36. If it is wrong, let it be repeated. Sorry, it actually starts here. So let all this quibbling about the Missouri Compromise, about the territory acquired from France, about the Act of 1820 be cast behind you. Right? So the simple question is, will you allow it, et cetera, et cetera. So let all this Missouri Compromise, about the territory acquired from France, about the Act of 1820 be cast behind you. So this text also, it's not too clear, it's not super strong about telling us something about what he thinks that legislators' consideration of the bill and has been clouded by. But there are a couple of things that should stand out to us. So one, we know that he's addressing legislators. So whenever he's talking directly to people, that all this quibbling or be cast behind you, he's referring to the legislators, right? And what he's saying here is sort of advising them to stop quibbling, right? To stop making sort of like pointless arguments about things that aren't important, right? Let them be cast behind you because there's a more direct, more simple question. So this answer choice could also work because it does sort of tell us something subtly. It's an implication question, so that's good. It tells us subtly something that Douglas thinks about the legislator's consideration of the bill. So I think it's a good answer choice. So in both cases, if we keep it, um, here, answer choice A, we have Douglas basically asking, is not the question involved a simple one, right? And down here, he's saying, let all this quibbling be cast behind you, right? So what we can do is we can take these two answer choices, and what we can do is go back to the text. What we can do is we can go back to the text and back to the answer choices for question 32 and see which of the text, which answer choice is best supported. So let's go with A. A says moral dilemmas inherent in the issue of slavery. So we are saying that that their judgment is clouded by the moral dilemmas inherent in slavery. This might seem plausible. It's not be something that would get in the way of consideration of the bill. It probably is true. But none of the texts that we looked at, or the two that we left behind, really talk about this, right? Really talk about how the legislators are the judgment is being clouded, or the considerations clouded by these moral dilemmas. This is not going to be the right answer. He says emphatic language that characterizes the text of the bill. So this would be if his bill just had very strong language and people were taking objection to it. Nowhere in the passage is this talked about. It doesn't really make too much sense. And especially in the text that we have, there's no evidence for that. So we can get rid of it. Discussion of issues that are fundamentally beside the point. We should note that this sort of matches answer choice D. It was talking about the quibbling, sort of minimizing the discussion of other things. All this quibbling about maximize territory acquired from France, the activation 20, the task behind you. Those are the issues that are fundamentally beside the point. This is a good answer choice. D says pre-existing loyalties and rivalries present among legislators. This would be if um, Douglas started making a claim that certain people had certain loyalty to each other or certain affinities to maybe a political party or a political idea, and that these pre-existing loyalties and rivalries, they're clouding the judgment and clouding the consideration. But that's not mentioned in the passage or really in any other text, so we really do. It's going to leave us with answer choice C, discussions of issues that are fundamentally beside the point. And out of the two texts that we have left over, answer choice D most clearly talks about issues that are besides the point. Quibbling about concerned compromise, territorial acquired from France, about the activation friendly, etc. So for that reason, we can choose answer choice C for 32 and answer choice D for 33.